So this is gonna be a slightly intermediate video. It doesn't have to be as long as the intermediate video of what have I called between the links of other between links, but like having to be like whatever I said was not a short or long video. But this might be a little bit longer than short though. But if I can make it short otherwise for no reason, then to just appease a criticism I don't have to exist with, and even the things I didn't say anxiously anyways, without having to worry about what they were, even if I did avoid them, escape from them for some reason. But even if I don't actually know what that means for the very first time in my life for saying that. But we're gonna address something like what I think is the 13-year economy rather than a 10, like as in like the first 13, then 16, 26, and 39. So forwards from 27 to 39 years as of actually indeed years of age. What I think might happen between ages 27 to 39, since I'm approaching 27 like in a few weeks anyways. But not particularly for being 27 years old at that point, almost. But what might happen between ages 27 to 39 in my life, and even concerning like my early 50s. Well, I don't have to go there yet. Oh, not even just astrology for that matter. But why I might have to concern myself with things like I've seen, not even just philosophically, about atmosphere and nihilism and emotional context and things like that. All the bells and whistles of things throughout my whole life story, front to back of Tony Cashman indeed, since rebranding the channel a little bit differently for other things that I meant to do the entire time ago anyways. Other things of that nature. Even in the compared to like indeed Gigguk or Garnt's video about things that were got in my 20s, like not even so much like that. Not even so much like, oh, it's I'm this year's of age and I have zero something to economy, that kind of thing. I'm not gonna ever make a video like that, even if I get desperate. Hopefully, I don't have to. If I finger crossed for that, it's because I know what I'm doing. Not always, but doing everything for reason comes out as consequences, I guess. Even that does. But yeah, after 2 minutes of explaining that, let's go for this. Okay, so Garnt is right and wrong about several things. Garnt doesn't have to have an objective opinion for this to be a point, and that's why it's supposed to be possible. But when Gigguk says that people who seem to know what they're doing for the first 22 years of their life and then have nothing else to do, and as it speeds up, he's trying to relay this in not so much a unique and relatable way. He's trying to explain that it happens to be the case for most people in statistical form. It's not that everyone literally goes through that. It's just that there's a point where they do seem to know how to relate that in a good way. So the relatability is still comforting. It's very invitational, accepting, and the invitational, accepting, acknowledging things of life. Those are some of my principles and values alone. But personally, I don't mean to take advantage of that. There's a way to have the same quality as other people and still have that annoy you in itself, because you're not trying to agree with them. You're just trying to be yourself, but you don't want to do it in a way where they can take advantage of you. And that can be merciful or merciless in different forms. Again, so I keep saying the word forms. But it's a very weird thing. So like Garnt is right about he's right about that being relatable. What he's wrong about is the idea that no one will ever see it in a different way. And I don't think he ever implied that in his video, but it's like it's a very weird energy where you can look at something like that and be like, okay, so he's relatable in a very humble way, but he doesn't have to only be right about it, right, either, right? So when I approach things like atmosphere, frog and toad in the well, kind of things like that, cosmic spirals, spiral staircase, things like that, where I'm just going about not even just necessarily philosophical ideals I heard about or even made myself, or things that have an abstract philosophical nature, where I talk about them. I'm like, okay, these are ideas I had all the time. Oh, there's a lot I can get into in this video alone, like how when I keep mentioning cognitive initial simulation in other videos. I meant to explain that when I say things like my biggest fear isn't necessarily not being transparent, it's just not realizing that exists in the first place. And it's like, I'm not trying to deny that I was born. Like, when people misunderstand that, it goes over their heads and they hear that and they're like, oh, don't be suicidal. Oh, your birth existed. The day you were born was beautiful. I'm not saying stuff like that. I'm saying not only do I not feel as transparent, which is a good thing in itself, both good and bad. Both transparency and lack of transparency is good. Deepest truth of that. But the idea that I can't comprehend the fact that I existed or even had the reaction speed to know otherwise. And I keep talking about the reaction speed. Oh my gosh. Do I keep talking about reaction speed and being envious of people who are bored and omniscient aspects, whether younger or older? Not ageism need not apply even then. Not so much disassociation from things like I beg to differ kind of thing, but that's a different philosophy. Where it just happens to be the case that I didn't have to know about these luxurious perspectives of other people, younger or older, or world only cares about results. Don't make excuses for just not doing things or not even doing things in particular, whether you did or did not do anything good or bad or productive or not. All these philosophies things. And when I say things like frog in the well, I'm not saying nihilism is key. I'm saying that for some reason I don't know how to find emotional context. I don't know how to find people who are not nihilistic. And it's like maybe obviously I manifest all things to begin with, but it's just a little different energy. So like I don't mean that no one's ever not nihilistic. I don't mean that no one's ever without a emotional context all the time. It's like whether I find that in a fictional medium or real life, that's a different case. But like that's how I go about that. And then you can even as far as depicting my communication skills, as I mentioned in the last video, where the core episode was about that, but a little bit, as well as other videos, like where eventually, sooner down the line, I would have to learn how to speak better, and come down to the true unity of discussing things. Like the unity of how I speak has to make sense, not necessarily the popular language aspect of it, but even truly uniting people, even with the creativity, not necessarily needing to only build, not crumble, but like I keep mentioning that trauma. But that kind of thing. So that communication is implied as well, not nuanced or implied, but like not nuanced implied or subtle, but like that can be its own wicked evil. But you know, as I mentioned about Miab as well, saying that Miab's evil only if its other things are evil to comparison, or cowardly approaches, I guess. But this is already supposed to be a deeper reveal for that alone, where it's like these are the things at least. It's like where people want to express a form of uniqueness and relatability, and I use that dichotomy very tightly for a reason. The uniqueness and relatability, because people who swear that they have their own experiences, not like anyone else, the cliche because it's true thing, where it's like it's cliche because it's true that people should surely know how to relate to you at some point. Millions of people exist that could possibly relate to you at some point. Not just by statistic, by it's on universal truth, I guess. More than necessary, or even more than possible, versus more than expected, but also more than as indeed true. So people should be able to relate to you. Say what you will about boomers, but even they have an element of truth when they say that. Like when they say that there's no way no one can relate to you, to each their own. But like, but that being said, the people who said they can relate to you, and then 2 weeks down the line they do something absolutely stupid that proves that they couldn't possibly be like in the first place, or at least not for a good reason. So it's like, so that's why I use the uniqueness and relatability economy. I'm not saying that everyone's unique or only ever relatable at the same time. Both those are important. Everyone is unique, but they still can be relatable. So the opportunity to be relatable always exists, even if whether or not they are truly unique in their own opinion. But it's like that's where it comes from. It's like I can go push for 15 minutes as expected to, like 15 or 60 minutes, 16 at the most, so I don't push too hard on even this video that it's intermediate or not, or 17 and a half if I want to. 17 and a half is okay. 15 to 17 and a half. We're already at 8, so. And then you have like other philosophies I have, which I won't squeeze too much in this video, like the thing with like music and beat 4, like having 4 beats in every fucking pattern, like a song. There goes my memorization. Where you happen to see music being done in patterns, like, well, what would the point of music be if you were too obsessively compulsive about how it's done? Like having unique sounds in every part of your song, like you do, or some long-form orchestra, which is literally the opposite of what that does, by the way. Long-form orchestra and ambience is the opposite of having a pattern. It's supposed to be so unique that you don't even notice it's unique in the first place. It just sounds like the same sound over and over again, but it's actually unique sounds all the whole time. No one notices that because they don't pay attention to that music anymore. Or they probably should, but if ambience even applied them that deeply, if even overcomplicated, but you know, but there's something to be said about. I can get off the music topic in a moment, but there's something to be said about when people like me get into age 27 thinking that they never existed before, and it's like I'm not trying to be forcibly nihilistic when I say that, or even sound suicidal or sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. I know that I've been born. I know literally that I have been born. That's not what I mean by that philosophically, at least. I know that I literally existed in March 4th, 1997. I know that emotions exist whether on a fictional or real life medium. I know that emotions exist with or without the context of emotional context. I know that nihilism doesn't have to be L be all. I know that Buddhism doesn't have to be L be all. But as part of the subjective truth of that, but compared to objective, but even compared to world camera results. When I have that trauma of not knowing how to have a reaction speed or feel like I was in control of my life, whether that's an ageism complex or even necessarily a luxurious way to see your life, immature or not, maturity or not, because I have a big gripe about that philosophically. Like, I used to believe that maturity didn't even exist. Same with evil, but or love for that matter. A little different there. Even freaking logical targeting. I'm stubborn in my own right, but at least I do actually do everything for a reason. Okay, at least I actually do everything for a reason, and it's like the people who never had to understand that from my perspective, because I've had some really clever friends over the years who could read things very easily about me, but me being emotionally stiff, about me being slow. Like, these are good friends, by the way. Me being slow, being emotionally stiff and numb, desensitized. Me being good about having done everything for a reason and still making mistakes along the way. And whether or not I have literal mistakes and regrets in my life, whether or not that's true, whether or not I've actually truly been hardworking or not, or intelligent or not, how the way I perceive intelligence, all that kind of stuff. It's just, but when we come full circle with Garnt and Gigguk, it's like, I don't think he was totally right about everything he said. He didn't have to be opinionated about that, not so much, but there's a discomfort in itself when you discuss things like uniqueness and relatability, because even with his video in mind, as he's an anime otaku YouTuber, for that matter, he's not relaying that you have to be an extrovert to go to the parties, because obviously I think he was an introvert who went to those parties anyways, and I don't even have a driver's license as an extrovert, so it's like, yippee me, but like, they'll think of comparison right there, but yeah, it's just, it's interesting that I went this long in my life without feeling like I legitimately had any control over it. And people are like, you're amazing, Tony. You did all these beautiful things. Yeah, half the time on autopilot without my decision making. And that's not even so much to throw accountability out the window. People have the biggest gripe that I'm irresponsible without even knowing the true character, what it means to have half your life happen without your consent. And it's like, not even so much existing, but the fact that you even can't even control the things that were beautiful and were amazing, and you still had no say in that shit. That's still disgusting in itself. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be ungrateful. It's just, that's just how I feel about that. It's like, it's disgusting that even the best things in my life happen without my control. And it's like, but why can't you just be grateful for the beautiful things that happen regardless of your control? It's because I still wanted to know that I was transparent in those moments. The transparency is so relevant, but it doesn't have to only be like about that. It's like, I legitimately don't understand and I still to this day cannot fathom that I exist. That there really is a Tony Cashman that exists on the Old Man the Sea style perspective, with or without being that kind of, not so much popularity or fame, hopefully not really, fame or fortune kind of thing. Not so much that ambition of that high scale throttle of popularity or fame, but being someone who does not know his own self as well as he should, when that's mostly what people have at the end of the day. Is like, most people at least know who they are, even if they don't know anything else. And that's like the one thing I don't know the most of. It's like, which is beautiful in itself, because I've always been a deep person anyways, in a beautiful way. Knowing that there are a lot more things to me that even I realize, which even other good friends of mine have explained. Like, they've explained that I'm probably more interesting than I realize myself. They're right already, without even needing to confirm that, in my opinion, at least. But the reason I will say things like, I can't fathom my own existence, so why should I be popular in the first place? It's not so much to be facetious about that, but it's like, it's a very weird reality. I don't mean to sound suicidal or depressed when I say things like, I don't realize I exist, I don't realize that I was born, yada yada yada, boo hoo woo, woe's me kind of thing. No, it's to paint an abstract philosophical point. I cannot fathom that Tony Cashman exists. I really can't. It's so beautiful. The horse, the riding the horse, driving the car, reaction speed stuff of this stuff, I probably had control over more of it than I'm willing to admit. It's probably a lot of escapism and trauma alone, and rejecting my memories and experiences, because I have that much trauma in the vault. But when it comes down to it, even the things that I'll never realize until much later in my life about my life story, they'll be their own truths when the time comes. I don't have to be literally 55 years old living my best life. I can live my best life right now. But there are things that will happen when I'm 53, 52, 55, maybe even 39, 40, that I won't understand until I'm those ages. And that's not just coming down to experience, by the way, without ageism. Ageism could be implied for both young and old, by the way. But I could try and imply that without being too direct. I beg a different kind of thing. Different philosophies. You know I'm a philosopher at this point, hopefully, without the claymation. By the way, the claymation will come back at some point, but yeah. Before the end card comes in soon, I would just like to emphasize one more time that it does not even take an insightful person, because everyone's insightful, but it does not take this guy to explain these things in great detail without even communicating properly in any other degree of that, while still being a good writer otherwise. It does not take this guy to do these things to elaborate in this kind of a way for you to understand this differently. Like, just because I don't feel like anything I say is useful, to a certain extent, because I am still a real good writer, but just because I feel like not everything I say will land, or even should or ever has to land, doesn't mean it didn't matter anyways. It could still matter to me, and it already did. So I'm not as hard as myself. I'm not as nearly as hard on myself as people think I am, especially not by design. I don't mean to be hard on myself when I'm trying to be confident in the first place. But when I'm being too confident and forgetting to love myself in the same way that I shouldn't be conceited with confidence, you shouldn't have to be confident to be self-loving. You can love yourself even if you're not that ambitious, but it's like a little different. When you push so hard, well, I could never be hard on myself. I want to be the most important person of all time. Why would I ever be hard on myself? That's because you are, Tony. That's because you are. But sorry, it just had to be like that. But like TMI, POT or not. But that's what that energy comes down to. I think this will be the end card soon. But that's what it comes down to, is that I know I exist and I'm glad I do. But I can certainly do way better than this, even if it was never gonna be fair anyways. So end card content would just be that I don't have to add the end card in this time, but it's just that I don't hate myself. I love myself. I hope people understand that. I do not hate myself. I just have very, very philosophical gripes with what happened and what has yet to happen, and even understand what happened before, which I'll look back to anyways for a good reason.